The hardest part about failing that people battle with is not necessarily the failure, it's the emotion attached to the failure. Because we come from, human beings are social creatures. So that's why you live with your family. You don't live alone. That's why you live in a society and a community. That's why you go to a church. That's why you go to an office. And everywhere you go, when you get there are other human beings. Human beings are social creatures. And a part of being a social creature is feedback. So you have the friends you have because you like the feedback. When you make a joke, they laugh. You go to the places you go to because you like the feedback. So as human beings, we're in a constant system of feedback. When you went to school, at the end of a term, you wrote a test or an exam for feedback. The hardest part about failing is you don't like the feedback. Because you don't know if you failed or if the business failed. Because you are the business, you're the entrepreneur. And so you have to deal with these emotions attached to failure. And then what happens is you start questioning yourself. You start asking questions like, am I really as good as I think I am? Like, am I really this good? Or has it just been my ego this whole time? And then you go back to the time when there was a guy in high school who told you you'd amount to nothing. Or an ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend who told you that you would amount to nothing. And you go, maybe they were right. You know what's funny about human beings is if you wrote a test and you got 70%, your mind doesn't see the answers you got right. When you go through the exam paper after you get it back from your teacher, you look for the answers you got wrong. Because that's how we're wired as human beings. So if you have had 100 people tell you you're amazing and 3 people tell you you are useless, you will always remember the 3 people. It's what's called the imposter syndrome. So your internal dialogue starts being framed by negative perceptions of self, by self, based on the perceptions of others. So the real problem with failure is because it supports the 3 people who told you you were worth nothing, not the 97 who told you you're amazing. So for me, that was like the hardest part, right? Like the hardest part was having to understand that I was not that failure, that the failure didn't define me, that it was a moment. It happened, and and I needed to move on from it. And that failing doesn't make you any less of what you were. You're still great, you're still amazing, you're still smart and intelligent and hardworking, you're still all of those things. All of those things about you are true. The event does not define you. It's just an event. You're an athlete that showed up to run a 100-meter race and had a bad race. Doesn't mean you're a bad athlete. You had a bad race, right? The reason that's important is because even today, as I run my businesses, it's like the part of the internal dialogue I have to catch myself having is recognize when I'm having a bad month and when I'm having a bad quarter. That I'm not bad. My business is not bad. The month was bad. The quarter was bad. But I'm not bad. Because if you become your failures, you'll never succeed. The problem though, and this is the point I'm trying to get to, is we become our successes. Every time you succeed, you own your success. When you write your Twitter profile, what do you put there? Your successes. When you write your CV, what do you put there? Your successes. You go for an interview and people say, tell me a bit about yourself. What do you tell them? Your successes. Someone says, tell me about yourself. You tell them about your successes. Because you come from a society where the success is you. So when you fail, you go, this failure must be me. It's not. It's an event. There's a beautiful poem by Rudyard Kipling called If. And it's part of the poem where he says, it's my favorite part of the poem. He says, if you can meet victory and defeat and treat both imposters just the same, then you'll be a man. Because what he's saying is victory and defeat are both imposters. They are not you. They're events external of you. But you have to treat them just the same. Never let them define you. Don't let them move your core, It's like what's funny about failing, I think, is you learn more from failing often than you do from succeeding. One of the challenges of living in the world today is people have an opinion about everything. It's a real problem. Like, it's a real problem. Somebody who doesn't live your reality, who doesn't face your problems, who doesn't know what you're going through, but wants to comment. You know, I was trying to explain this to someone. I was like, if you were absent in my struggle, please don't be present in my success, but also don't be present in my failure. I get an only upset. Be upset. So we live in this era today where people lack context. So Tandanani starts a business and the business fails. People don't go, why did it fail? What happened? They just go, Jenlenati is a failure, right? I can't remember, somebody sent me a meme that was beautiful. They said, you'll never be criticized by somebody working more than you. So, and that's a point, I think, to anybody watching this video. Before you leave a comment, just ask yourself, are you working more than me? Because anybody can leave a comment. It's easy. You have an internet connection, you watch a video, you go and you comment, this guy talks too much. Okay, but are you working? And, you know, at the end of it all, when they tally the work I've put in, the work you've put in, who's going to put in more work? For me, that's what's important. What's important is, did you put in the work? Did you do the hours? Did you give it the best you could? That's the stuff that matters. And so, even if your business is failing, I'm telling you now as an entrepreneur, the question you must be asking yourself is, am I putting in the work? Not, is the outcome right? Because the outcome is determined by the world. Are you putting in the work? Are you doing the best you can? Are you the first person in, last person out? Are you being meticulous and methodical in your approach? If you do that and you give it the best you've got, then even if you lose, you don't fail. You lose, but you don't fail. Because you put in the best amount of effort that you could. Then you can look yourself in the mirror and say, I gave it my best shot. You know, it's a bit like, it's like being a championship boxer, getting in the ring and getting beaten by Mike Tyson. He's the greatest boxer of his generation. You did the best you could. You know, he was just better on the day. Anyway.